All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this month's episode of the Damien and Danielle download, where Damien and I go over everything happening here at Power Diary. So, Damien, what is going on your side of the world? How are you doing? It's been a hot minute.
It has been. I'm very well, thank you. All going well here. We were just talking before that we're on opposite sides of the world, so we have different seasons coming and going. So we are slowly getting rid of our winter, and it's getting nice and warm. And of course, you're on the other end of the spectrum there. And
I'm so jealous. I wish it would stay nice and warm here forever, but it won't. And you get to steal my warm weather. You had a time switch. Like you guys just went into, oh boy, are you in daylight
spring.
savings time?
Yeah, we are where we are in Victoria, in daylight savings now. So our days are getting longer, which I personally love.
Yeah. And ours are about to get shorter because even if that is different, like you guys change before we do over here. So lots of fun things happening on our international sphere. And
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
we've got a lot of fun things happening here at Power Diary, a lot of interesting things happening here at Power Diary. And we have got a lot to cover. So,
We
as
do.
always, we'll get out our stopwatches over here. We're going to be cognizant of everybody's time, try to keep it piffy and on top of it, but really cover all the goods happening here at Power Diary and all of the progress we're making. So let's get into it. Let's start with, as always, our releases and highlights. And what do we got up first? We got what's
Up
first?
first, we'll go with there's a few things to talk about, and then we'll also talk about when releases don't go quite as planned as well. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. So first up, we'll talk about the a feature that's been added where users or master users or people with either master access or with setup access to an account, we've added a feature that enables content to be removed from the SMS stream. So the use case here is that sometimes most of the SMSs are used for reminders, administrative sort of purposes, sending out forms, things like that. But what happens sometimes is that a client or a patient will reply and send something that's perhaps more sensitive than just responding to more administrative kind of things. So they might send information through that really is quite sort of personal or sensitive,
Mm,
or is something that really needs to be treated, in a more as sort of clinical content, if you like.
okay.
And so what used to happen, of course, that comes into the SMS stream. And people would sometimes, as in our customers, would sometimes contact and say, look, we don't want that customer to send that reply to us, and we don't really want that sitting there in SMS feed. So, and what we used to have to do is to remove that content, we would have to do that for customers behind the scenes. And there
And we
was
would have to do that. Yeah. So the Power Diary team would have to do that for them.
Yeah, that's right. And then because any time there's any change that we would ever make to data like that, we have to make sure there's a full audit trail and all those sorts of things. And so there was quite a process involved of someone contacting and specifying and us confirming and going through a whole lot of stuff, because if we're making a change to data like that, there's part of our processes to make sure that everything is trackable. But
Right.
so that meant it wasn't necessarily the most convenient for customers, and we were getting feedback from people to say, look, I would like people with certain level of access to my account, I would like them to be able to sort of remove the actual content, when that's required. So that is now out there. You can actually go into a client profile, go to the communication section, click on activity, and you can look at any received SMSs that you've received in that client profile, and you'll see an option there now to remove that content. And often what people will typically do is they might actually cut and paste the content out of there and put it into, say, a clinical note or something to say, hey, we received this via text, and put it in. So if that becomes a subject of discussion at the next appointment and so forth, there is an accurate sort of record of that interaction, but it's just moved into a more sort of appropriate area of the patient record, and means, of course, then that it's not sitting in there with the normal kind of administrative interactions. So
Right.
that is out there and live, and I think we're always sort of looking, for things that when people give us feedback about things that they find a little bit kind of clunky, or, if it's something to do with privacy, security, compliance, things like that, then, we're always looking at, okay, what sort of, things can we add or tweak to make everyone's life a bit easier, of course.
Well, and I think you said a big one there for compliancy and patient privacy, having the ability to, remove that message, and then a log of who removed it, which there is a log of who and when it was removed. Having that ability is great. And which users have the ability to? It's the user with setup menu access, correct?
That's right. That's right. So if someone goes into and looks at their list of users and clicks in, there's a function there that gives people access to the sort of setup and configure Power Diary. So it's sort of a very high level of access, designed really for maybe the owners or partners in a practice, or maybe a sort of practice manager or someone that sort of is able to add users, or so it's not something that a standard user could do if they don't have administrative access to the Power Diary account. They can't do it. But in that case, the idea is the workflow would be that they talk to the person who manages the account and has that level of access, and then makes the request for something to be removed. And then that allows that, ensures that it goes through the right processes within the clinic as well, that you don't have a scenario where someone is able to remove that, who perhaps the practice doesn't want people to be able to do that. So this way it does limit it to just people with that setup and administrative access. And will just mean that people can do that. And it means if something does that happen, that people send a message that perhaps isn't quite the right place for it, or sometimes it's even just an accidental message, like a client replies and they think they've just made an error, and they sent it to the clinic instead of to a friend, and it contains personal information. They're like, hey, I don't want that, like,
please
on my
take that
record.
out.
So,
yeah,
exactly.
I wish in real life everything had it, delete
yeah, like an undo button or a delete button. That's right. That would be
good.
awesome. Well, anyway, Power Diary does now have that, so that's awesome.
Good. I love it. Well, this next one we're going to talk about, I know that we have a few colleagues here at Power Diary that are really super excited about. And that is, do I get the honors?
I think we're going to hand this one. Yeah, I think you can do the honors for this one, because I know it's one you're super excited about.
I am super excited about it. Katie and our customer success team, I know, is really super excited about this, because she's been pestering you for a while about it, right? So Indeed. It is a change to the internal calendar settings in the form of the 12 and 24-hour clock. So if you guys know, it's the internal calendar, you've been in Power Diary, you may have noticed in the past that on the left-hand side in the past, it had been shown the times in 12-hour time. So 8 a.m. to noon, and then 1 to, whatever, however you had your calendar configured, but it was in 12-hour time. And then if you went to book an appointment, you would have noticed that it's in 24-hour time, or as we call it over here in the States, military time. Now, that could be a little difficult if you're thinking in your brain, you're like, oh God, what's 1400? That's 2 o'clock. And you got to do the little bit of math. So we've made that easier. And we've made adjustments where you can now choose how you want your internal calendar to be set up. And taking it one step further, with the release of this new feature, we have gone ahead and, based upon Microsoft, what is it, Damien? It's a Microsoft, explain it to me.
Um, Essentially, there are different sort of standards set about what logic do you use to determine whether people are more likely to prefer 24-hour time or 12 hours. So, because it does vary a lot, and this is one of the things that sort of emerged from this is that the feedback we had were from different regions. So in one country, we'd have a preference for one way of doing it. In another country, it would be, hey, look, we only use 24-hour or
Right.
military time, as you call it. So what happens is that there are these reference libraries, so Microsoft in this case, they kind of set and say, okay, if someone's in this country, then they are most likely, or their default would be this sort of time zone. And sort of how, for instance, Microsoft products would use to determine that.
It's a
But
little
these
cheat
libraries
sheet.
are sort of often, that's right. It means that there's a sort of standardized way of doing it. And often these libraries are used by lots of different programs. You wouldn't realize it because it all happens behind the scenes. But when something just seems to intuitively be right, often that it's using a library that is determining, okay, what is most likely suitable for this particular location. And so, we default because at the moment there hasn't been a setting for this. It's been inconsistent, as you said, within the app. In some areas you see it in 24, and other you see it in 12. So this will now improve the consistency across everything. And mean that's right, you can swap between the two. So when we release that, there will be we will set everyone's to the format that is most likely to be what they might like based on their location.
Right.
So we'll default it to that. But of course, that could be wrong, right? For an individual practice, they might say, look, we prefer it this way or that way, which is different to the setting based on the geography. So people can go in and change it. So if you don't like it and you see that, oh, hang on, no, I'd rather 24-hour or I'd rather 12-hour, whatever it might be, you can actually just go in and switch that out.
Yes. So to summarize, you guys' calendars have already been switched based upon this little cheat sheet provided to us by Microsoft. Thank you. And if you want to change it to meet your businesses or your practices needs, we have a way for you to do that. And I actually have a video that so I don't have to walk you guys all through it here today because we just don't have enough time, that shows you where you can go ahead and find these settings. It's really easy and it will make your guys' life easier. It will then, you'll see your calendar in whatever setting you choose. So again, your calendar's already changed. But if you want to change it, you can change it again. And you'll see that time on the left-hand side be set up to how you want it. So 12 or 24. And then when you go over to choose an appointment, you'll see that time in either 12 or 24-hour form. And as a little added bonus, the little picker, so the picker, when you go and choose an appointment, there's a time picker, right? And you can pick the drop down, and that was always defaulted to 5-minute increments. Now there's another change that we've made where you can now set the increment setting that you want. So you can make your own default. It's either 5, 10, 15, or 30-minute increments. So again, you can set this up to your business's needs or your practice's needs, however you want it to go. And again, this is all done up for you in this video, which we are going to attach in the bio of this video or in the Facebook feed. We're going to attach it for you so you can go ahead and click on over there and watch it. But it's easy and you guys are going to love it. Now, what has not changed? And I always like to let you guys know what has not changed. So this is all internal. So this is all the stuff on the inner workings and what you guys see. So event logging will remain in 12-hour format. The merge fields in your communications templates are going to remain in 12-hour format, and your client portal times will remain in 12-hour format. But everything internally is going to be consistent across the board to how you guys want to set it up. And I know there are people all over the world doing the happy dance, especially Katie, especially me. We're doing a little happy dance. Maybe we'll make a happy dance TikTok because this is very exciting. And I know the team is excited to release that. And it's one of the fun features that we get to present to you. So that's happening. Yeah. And by the time this little video gets released, you guys can now update your 12, 24-hour calendars. Congratulations. Round of applause to our engineering team and all the feedback. And thank you for giving our feedback. And like I said, we are listening. So
Yeah.
I think that covers it. That's the 12-hour
Yeah,
content.
absolutely. I think it just make it easier, and I think that the level of demand we've had for it, I think, speaks for itself. But that's right. If people aren't used to thinking in one way, one thinking in 24-hour time, and then previously, with the way the app was set up, you kind of people had to an extent. That sort of adds a little bit of extra sort of cognitive load, a bit of extra sort of thinking. So this again, just trying to align that so that
Yeah.
this will mean that it's more, a bit more natural if uh, to be able to
Well,
set it in a way that
as you said
works naturally for
earlier
you.
when we were talking about it, sometimes, especially in the medical field, you might say 2 hours, but then when you go to do your notes, you're putting 1400. So I mean, it happens, it's
Exactly.
not an uncommon thing to think of it that way, but this just, gets the consistency across the board and makes it just a little bit easier for, maybe your admin team that doesn't think in that clinical way. So I think again, I think it's just a really a good upgrade. So,
That's
all
good.
right, so let's get into it. Now we've got something, and this one is directed towards our Medicare Australian users. So this is for Australian Medicare, and
Yep.
we've had you've had the Medicare integration for 7 years, and our team has been working for a long time on upgrading or a whole new
Yeah.
integration, really, right?
Yeah. So I guess a bit of background. So, and when I'm talking here, I'll talk about Medicare and DVA, Department of Veterans Affairs, and they're under the same sort of government umbrella. So I'm talking about both when referring to those. So, and as you say, it's Australian Medicare and Department of Veteran Affairs rather than the US equivalent. Now, so we have a direct integration, and we have what's called a native integration with Medicare, which means that the Powder system connects directly to the government Medicare and Department of DVA system to process claims. And this is a bit different to some practice management systems that might integrate sort of via a sort of third parties. They don't actually have a direct, it might go via maybe a payment processing system or some other intermediary, which adds sort of complications. It often means you have to subscribe to that to get the kind of claiming function. So we decided that at the start when we went ahead with 7-8 years ago, whatever it was, that we wanted a direct integration that meant that we could do that, offer it to customers without there being charges and complications. But what it means is that our infrastructure, everything about our has to talk directly to Medicare. So we have to kind of do all the work with that, and we have to make sure that we pass all sorts of different, as you can imagine, security and development processes to make that work. Now, Medicare for a long time has used a particular type of technology called adapter technology. Is just a way in which that you could connect to them, and their integrations were primarily powered by that technology, which is perhaps an older technology that they identified actually quite some time ago that was going to need to be sort of phased out. So what's happened and where is that some time ago, Medicare, announced that they would be phasing that out, and that all the kind of integration partners and all the people that connected with them would need to develop essentially a new integration to work with their new integration pathway, their new technology they were using, so web services. So it'd been on the books for a little while, and so we of course we got onto that straight away, because it's a massive change. On the surface to everyone it looks the same pretty much, but behind the scenes there's an awful lot.
it's
Essentially it's a new,
it's a whole
completely
new
new thing.
Yeah, yeah, a whole
Exactly
new
the way that it, yeah, exactly. It's a completely kind of redone, and so yeah, we then did a lot of prep, of course, and working with Medicare, and for Medicare they're doing this for Australia wide, every just about every platform that connects. So a lot of work on both ends, and so we would have started that well over a year ago, the actual development of it, and it goes through all these stages, testing. So we develop things. They have lots of tests that you kind of have to pass, and all sorts of things. And then eventually, you get the sort of certification, or you get the sort of approval that it's, right to go. And the goal then, of course, with anything that you do is that you release it and it's all going to just run perfectly, right?
Right.
And that everything will go smoothly. But we knew that this was going to be like the scale of it was going to be pretty significant. And we have sort of processes in place to try and detect how things are going to go, make sure we pick up on any issues nice and early. Um, and yeah, as it sort of happened, so we have sort of rolled out, and to sort of get to that point, we kind of develop it, we get that sort of approval, then we start doing some what's called beta testing. So we're utilizing it in a real and live environment, so with real claims, and we have practices that sort of sometimes volunteer to be on the kind of cutting edge of what we're doing, and will be our sort of they get to use the newest things sometimes first, but also there's always a risk that as we're doing, we're going to, the whole point of it is to detect anything in the real world. So we went through all the beta testing. We picked up a few things there, and got those working well. And once we did that, we scaled the beta up, and that was fine too. And then we started the process of migrating the bulk of of people across. So we start off with a few hundred practices a day, sort of thing, or every few days. And then we kind of scale it up, and I think we were roughly running about a cadence of maybe 500 a day or something to progressively move all the practices from the old integration to the new platform. So yeah, that's what we have been doing for the last probably a few months now. And for the and it's interesting, I mean, the new integrations, while essentially the rules with Medicare like have stayed the same. There's not really, as in the claiming rules for practitioners and what criteria, but there are like differences in the way the integrations, what they look for, what they check, what they validate, and at what point. So they might validate times and dates and things just in a slightly kind of different way, or they might require under the old system to have a certain form filled out, or didn't need that form, and under the new system Medicare look at it sort of and process it slightly differently. So as we were rolling these things out, we pick up on some of these things, and for the most part, it went like really smoothly. However, and this is what I thought we'll sort of talk about, is sometimes when things don't go quite right, that we have had this an issue with the particularly the DVA claiming, so the Department of Veterans Affairs, and where the claims were getting a validation error, essentially. So the data is not being, it's showing to the user, hey, there's an issue here with some dates. Yet when the user looks in the system, the dates they've entered are correct, they're valid, they meet Medicare's sort of rules, and and everything looks looks okay. And it's interesting. This one we are actively working on, even as we speak, right?
As we speak.
Yeah, hopefully by the time people listen to this, it's resolved. But it's one of those things that we try and do everything we can to kind of avoid something like this happening, where it's impacting on the functioning, because we know how important Medicare and DVA claiming is. But it's proving it's been normally something like this, we can identify what the issue is and just zap it very, very quickly. We can spot it. It happens almost in real time. We're getting the feedback, and we've got people with it straight onto the code, look at it, and they'll develop a fix. It goes through an approval and quality assurance sort of process, but we can do that quickly. But once it's gone through that, we can then release that, and often, that's in the same day, and we can, release that without disturbing users on the system. But In this scenario, it's taken us a bit longer to try, and it's proved very sort of elusive to track down because the issue is to do with how dates and times are being interpreted and changed as part of the claiming process, and where the validation happens. And what we're seeing, which is just unusual, and that's why I thought we just talk about it, is that and sometimes most of the time we can kind of spot it and you can do it, but in this scenario where we see some we have these sort of testing environments and things where things are tested prior and separate from anything in the real world, right? Not using any real and live data. But what we're seeing with this is there are some slight differences in the way that the system behaves in one context versus in the live context. And so we think, okay, we can identify that. We test it in our test environment, and that's all working, fine. And then when it is hitting the live environment and in certain circumstances, then customers will see this error, which they shouldn't be getting, because the data they're putting in is correct, right? And so we'll, the team is working sort of, flat out on that and trying to identify, exactly where that, issue is occurring and why. And it will be something to do with the way the new integration is processing dates and times, which obviously for claiming, there's a lot of dates and times, right? Flying back and forwards between the systems to, Medicare is looking at dates and times for lots of things, and everything kind of has to match up. But it is, for this, it has definitely, impacted on customers, and it's something that we just you just try everything to try and avoid it. And you see sometimes we'll get feedback, or people will contact us, or you'll see on Facebook or something that people say, oh, why did you change it? It was working perfectly, and
we had no choice.
Well, in this case, that's right, we had no choice, and I think or they'll kind of, if we don't communicate enough, and which sometimes can happen too, like that, and we kind of learn from that. But often your sort of focus gets so much on what, trying to identify what's happening and rallying the sort of resources around, let's try and, figure out this little sort of needle in a haystack sometimes. Then if we don't keep people updated enough, then we will see that sort of thing too. So we've put out like last week, as part of our process now, if we've got something, we make sure we will put out an explanation of what's happening, and we'll have it on our status page, of course, to say this is where we're up to and what we're doing, and try and keep people in the loop as much as possible. But there's certainly, a lot of work going, that goes on behind the scenes, always try and prevent.
The amount of work going on behind the scenes. This is not easy. Again, as you said, it's working perfectly, the test environment. So, everything, how frustrating. I feel so, it's frustrating for everybody across the board, right? But I think the important part is, like, we are not sitting still. The team is hard at work. Countless hours, I'm sure, sleepless nights for many an engineer trying to fix the problem. It's really a testament to our team that they're on it. But it is disappointing. You don't ever want that to happen, but
that's right. And for customers too, at the end of the day, they're like, well, it impacts, if you've got something that impacts like that, it's some frustration they're going to experience multiple times that day, across all their practitioners, especially if they're doing a lot of type of claiming. So it's something that we are super aware of, and most of the time, you can either prevent it, or you can get onto it, and we would just get rid of that immediately, solve it. And this is the thing sometimes, and we were talking a little bit before we jumped on to record this, about where Medicare is really interesting in that normally if there's a brand new integration, right, the number of users on it when you first release, let's say, a new integration with some other platform or something, usually there's, sort of, a slow progressive uptake. People, oh, that's available, and they'll trial it and do it. What's been different with this, is that Medicare is, I mean, the number of claims we process is just astronomical. Like it
Yeah.
is, it's off the charts. So it's such a, essentially you're like building a completely new kind of integration and do all the tests, and Medicare, all the Medicare's tests, that they have very prescribed things you need to be able to go through and do. And so there's so much work. It's kind of, but as soon as it's been released, and obviously we did it in a progressive way, but the amount of claims going through, and it means that all these different kind of scenarios that that different, such a wide range of practices doing different types of claims and different types of
Yeah.
things, is that it's different because you're getting this massive sort of exposure. And it's very, it is disappointing that, and most of it kind of went through perfectly well. Like most of the
Yeah.
claiming, most of it actually was, so you're like, this really,
Like,
and
why?
naturally,
Why?
well,
Why? You're really, what a bummer. It's a bummer, but the team's
it's
responding. I think,
they're working away on it, and I mean, I think the impact for customers at the end of the day, the thing that's most important is to try and minimize it, and we are working on it. Unfortunately, sometimes technology, sometimes this stuff happens, and it's tough. But we are working on it, and we will. I mean, by the time people listen to this, hopefully it's very much in the rear vision mirror. But
exactly.
it's a good opportunity to kind of just talk a little bit about often in news and updates, we're of course talking about all the things that just 99% of stuff goes off really smoothly, but sometimes something like this happens, and you're like, yeah, this isn't good, and
And we
I
want to
thought,
be
well, let's
open and transparent about it,
yeah.
and talk about it, and let you know that you can trust on us that this we care, and we are working to get it fixed, and the team really takes pride in their work, and I know that they are doing everything they can to get it fixed quickly and timely, and get you guys back up and running, and for those that are experiencing the issues. So I'm you did that. Thank you, Damien. Thank you for that
Oh
explanation.
yeah, no,
Thank you for talking to
yeah.
us about it. And again, if anybody has any questions, or you have anything further you want to follow up, please go and email support@powerdiary.com. Use the in-app chat, and speak to one of our representatives, and we will, we are here and we are listening, and we will take care of you. So
Yeah, absolutely. And they go with anything that, if you, we've got a great support and customer success team, and they're across these things, and then our engineering team, is there, and we've got our, it all kind of set up, because if you ever think something isn't working right, or you need some help, or you've got a concern about something, let us know, because it's what we're there for. I mean, most of the time, people just don't have to think about this stuff, because it's all kind of managed prior to, this is
right.
something where, it's not unusual that you have something in testing or whatever that is a little tricky, and you think, yeah, it takes a bit, but it is unusual for something to get through an impact on people in the way that this is. But like I said, yeah, there's a lot of activity. I've got my internal communication on Slack open here on my screen, which I always have, and there's a lot of stuff going on as people work away on it, and we will have it resolved. And again, take the opportunity to apologise to people that have been impacted and affected, and we will have it. That element, everything else is working fine
Everything
in
else is
Medicare
perfect.
and claiming, but yeah, it's just this particular thing at the moment. So we will get there. Anyway,
Let's
it'd
talk
be good
about some
to.
good stuff again, because we really like the good stuff, but I am glad that we did talk about that as well. So, can I talk about some fun things that
Yeah,
we've
you
got?
can go. Yes, we're going to talk about some, in fact, awards that we
Yes,
have received. Yes, go
that's
for
right.
it.
And this is again a testament to the team at Power Diary, because G2, which is they're an independent situation, they release a set of awards reports and rewards that are scored based upon a user community. So, and these rewards are calculated by numerous factors, everything from customer satisfaction to data aggregated from social media and online sources, a number of reviews, and so much more. So G2 is like your go-to software, picking, they tell you what you need and what you don't need. So they are
It's like a big software review comparison site, right? Like it looks at yeah. It's where we go actually. Like we we go there and we're software. Yeah.
I use it all the time, but we received 5 awards. So this fall quarter. And we received some in the summer too, which I can't remember all of them because we're just growing. We got so many awards just now. And I really appreciate this. But again, it's a testament to our customers really getting that great support, really having a good experience with the software, and to the team behind Power Diary. So we got high performer and medical practice management, yippee, momentum leader in medical practice management, leader in mental health, high performer small business for physical therapy, and high performer for physical therapy software. So this is all the software. So we've gotten these great awards. Again, a testament to the team behind Power Diary. Thank you, users, for being satisfied with us. Again, we just talked about something that was down, but now we're talking about ups, and we are only going up from here. So thank you for everybody who reviewed us. Head on over, review us, help us get some more rewards. And great job to the team here at Power Diary. So super excited, really ecstatic to have those awards, Damien. We like to put them on our LinkedIn and on our Facebook and really celebrate everyone behind that. So yay, I like the good stuff.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that was interesting around the 2 ones around physical therapy, where we had awards in 2 categories, so the small business and then the general, is that trend that we're seeing, where we've always catered for the full range of market, from all the way from small solo practitioner to national multi-location sites, whether it's here or UK or North America. But what we're seeing with that award too is we're getting more and more customers who are also on that. They're sort of essentially migrating. They're larger customers. They're migrating from sometimes in-house systems that they have maintained, or in a lot of cases competitors, but they'll migrate across and these sort of and moving to Power Diary. And it's interesting to see that kind of flow through to the awards that the different size practices that we're appealing to. So it's always just nice to see that we're always trying to think about the full range of customers. So it's nice when you see that kind of come through. So thank you to everyone, large, small, solo practitioner through to full. If you've been in reviewing us, thank you very much. And of course, anything we can help with, let us know. And we really appreciate the support.
Absolutely. Okay, so we'll whiz through these next 2 because we've been talking a lot. So we had a past webinar on rethinking recruiting practitioners. So every month now we are doing webinars, guys. So you need to really head on over to powerdiary.com/webinars and check out our webinars, because we are just throwing at you guys a wealth of information and resources that can really better your practice. So last month, you and Naomi did Rethinking Recruiting for Practitioners. It was really great because, again, in this age where everybody's trying to outbid each other, and there's really a lot of allied health positions that are unfilled and not a lot of workers to fill them. So the competition is steep, and it seems to be a job seeker market. But you guys really presented a lot of really great resources for practitioners for hiring that you can utilize to get the best people in your into your practice or into your business. And you guys did a really great job. And I think
one of the focus points of that too is about when it is a job seekers market. So practices are trying to recruit. Sometimes people just sort of think about money. I need to offer more and more money to try and attract people, because it feels like this very competitive process. And there's an element, of course, of reality to that. In that in a competitive, tight market, of course, people are going to, it does put pressure on salaries, but not anywhere near as much to the extent that often people assume. And so really what we spent, a fair bit of time on with that is around, things that make you an attractive employer if you're a health practice, so that you can kind of attract the right sort of people without it being that you have to offer salaries that mean that your practice is, financially under a lot of pressure, or you have to keep putting your rates up so high. Well, I mean, I know this is what happens. Sometimes people will say, well, I have to offer this because otherwise we just won't have a team. And so we really did talk about that. Actually, when you look at what practitioners are looking for, okay, money's there, it's important, that's no denying that, but it's actually not the most important thing for a lot of people. And by getting the money, okay, right, but you don't need to be at the very top offering, because you just sort of think of it in terms of that if you have to offer at the very top of the market to attract people, then it means there may not be a whole lot of other things about working in your practice that people are wanting to. They're not wanting to join you for any other reason but the money. Right. So if you kind of think about the other things, and that's what we talk about in that webinar. It's been awesome hearing from people and the feedback we've gotten from that, and it's great. We really enjoy being able to kind of share ideas and be able to we get the benefit, I guess, of talking to practices all over the world and it's great to be able to kind of get that sort of information and try and provide to people in a way that hopefully makes a little difference in their practice, or if they take away one idea or something that they can use, then that's it's good fun, and it's good add-on.
It's good. And like I said, we have, that webinar, you can watch the replay on that webinars page. You can listen to it on our podcast. If you're listening to us on the podcast, go ahead, find that episode and you can watch it there. YouTube channel, it's everywhere. So please head on over, utilize it within your practice. And it was you guys did a really good job. I watched it 3 times, and I learned a lot. So good stuff. And then our upcoming webinar, again, we're doing one of these looks at this rate, we're doing the last Tuesday of every month, you're going to see a new webinar. So the next one coming up is how and why to use the client portal. And I think this is really great because I know you guys as listeners and viewers that you really love webinars that we love doing all sorts of them. So we do the thought leadership, and we like to help you and your practice. But I know you guys really enjoy ones on specific features of Power Diary and how and why it will benefit your business. So the client portal, I think, is just a really good one for you guys to tackle. Irina's getting back involved. So our Irina and our customer success team, she's getting back on this one with Damien. You guys are going to have a lot of good stuff in there. You're going to show them how to set it up, how to use it, why. We're going to talk about the why, which is good. And I'm really excited for you guys to dive into this one. You got anything you want to add to that?
No, look, just excited to have Irina joining me again for this one. It's funny, like Irina joined me for one going back a few months, and it's interesting. We're still getting like a lot of comments and feedback about that, and in fact, even in support, we're getting Irina sort of developed a bit of a following, and people are asking, "Hey, I want to talk to Irina," or Irina talked about this, and I wanted to follow up with her. So we had a really awesome response last time, and Irina, she's all over the client portal. She's absolutely great with it. Really, understands it well and the benefits that it can bring. And I've seen, in fact, earlier today, I saw some of the draft of the work she's putting together, and you're working on it with us. It's looking, fantastic. So very excited
it's going to be great
to present that one. Yeah,
it'll be on the 25th of October. So 25th of October. Again, we'll do Damien, you're going to be a busy man. You're going to do it 3 times. So we'll have 3 airings of it. And your chat will be live. So get on there, chat away. I really liked the last webinar. I won't go on much longer, but the last webinar, you guys, the chat was fire. You guys were really sharing, even sharing different, your own thought leadership there, and really giving each other ideas. So, hey, maybe we'll have some, thought leadership within you guys, with our listeners, about how they use the client portal. So think about that and bring your questions and get on that chat. And you guys, we will have some great representatives online to answer them. And Damien and Irina will be sharing their thoughts and how to use it and all the good stuff. So great. All right. So what a good episode we've got here. We're ready to close it up, folks. Damien is going to end with his thought of the month, which I just love. So, Damien, what do we got here? What's our thought of the month?
Well, look, it's thought of the month, and I was saying, I don't think we've talked about this one before, and I wanted to, because it is one. The reason I asked is because it's a theme for me around the importance of persistence. Right, that persistence, persisting at whatever it is that you're doing is it's a sort of essential ingredient of any form of success, pretty much ever. And often the difference between sort of those who do well and achieve the things they want to do and those who don't, often comes back to persistence. And it's not about, interestingly, it's not about like ideas, right? People often think it's about ideas, and often people are even cagey about sharing ideas, and because someone will steal my idea and all the rest of it. But actually, ideas, there's lots of ideas out there. Right? Mm-hmm. Ideas are actually relatively cheap, and there's plentiful. So it's actually not ideas. That really sort of determine it. It's persistence and that ability to kind of just to keep going. And if you have a setback or you have something that just doesn't go quite as you want, is to kind of go, all right, let's just sort of push on, learn, keep going. And that's the difference. If you look at anything in history, I can't think of an example, anything that is worth achieving that has not involved one or lots of people persisting through, whatever it is that they might, come up against. And so anyway, I've been thinking a lot about that, and I think it's I think it's something that's useful. I know in psychology, when I was doing a lot of clinical practice, that would be something where you're working with people, coaching and whatnot in their careers, and helping them achieve what they're after. Then you just cannot escape it. So. If you're having a hard time with something or you're feeling a bit stuck, okay, keep going at it, keep pushing, and the people who persist come out ahead.
All right, I'm gonna go be persistent about some great things this week that I really want to get done. So
excellent.
Be some pings for me. It's because I'm gonna be persistent, and we're gonna get it done. I love it. I love it. That's a good one. I think that works across everything. I think you could take that not just in business and your work life, but in your personal life and, just everywhere. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, be persistent. That is Damien's thought of the month. I love it. I love it. Well, Damien, we will end on that note. You guys, thank you for joining us today. I hope you guys found it useful. Damien, thank you for joining me from across the world.
Thank you very much.
And until next episode, we will see you guys later. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.